The human fleet spread across the stars like a wave of iron and fire. After Sylvanus fell, the remaining Valori colonies faced a simple choice: surrender or die. Most chose to surrender. Their military was shattered. Their leadership was captured. Their spirit was broken. One by one, star systems that had flown the silver flag for centuries lowered their banners and accepted human authority. Vice Admiral Li Hajin led the campaign against the outer colonies. Her fleet of 200 warships moved with terrible precision. She gave each world one chance to submit peacefully. Most took it. Those that didn't became examples for the others. The colony of Velthus IV refused to surrender. Its governor declared that true Valori would never bow to humans. Hajin gave him 12 hours to change his mind. When the deadline passed, her ships bombarded every military installation on the planet. The destruction took 14 minutes. The governor surrendered before the smoke cleared. After that, no other colony resisted. President Shin Jian addressed the galaxy from the captured palace on Sylvanus. She was 62 years old, with iron-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much sorrow. Her own grandfather had died at Nexus Prime. To all species of the galactic community, she began. 30 years ago, the Valori betrayed humanity. They left our soldiers to die. When we asked for justice, the Council refused us. You told us that the matter was closed. You told us to accept our dead and move on. She paused, letting her words echo across 1,000 worlds. We did not move on. We remembered. We prepared. And now we have taken what was owed to us. Every Valori ship belongs to humanity. Every Valori planet belongs to humanity. Every piece of technology, every resource, every treasure they hoarded for 1,000 years, it all belongs to us now. Her voice hardened. Let this be a lesson. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. Those who betray us will pay the price, even if it takes 100 years. The galaxy should remember this well. The broadcast ended. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, representatives of 100 species sat in stunned silence. The High Arbiter, the same ancient crystal being who had dismissed humanity's plea 30 years ago, struggled to process what had happened. This is unacceptable, declared the Harak ambassador. His black eyes glittered with anger and fear. Humanity has committed acts of conquest. They must be stopped. With what forces? Asked the Nabari representative quietly. Their fleet destroyed the Valori in days. Our combined militaries could not match them. Then we negotiate. We demand they release Valori territory. A human ambassador stepped forward. Her name was Yang Yunji, and she smiled with cold pleasure. The Human Federation has no interest in negotiations, she said. The Valori betrayed us. We have claimed them. This matter is closed. She used the same words the Council had used 30 years ago. The irony was not lost on anyone. You cannot simply conquer an entire species, the High Arbiter protested. There are laws. There are treaties. Laws that protected us at Nexus Prime. Yunji asked. Treaties that gave us justice when 60,000 of our people died? We asked for your help. You refused. Now we don't need your help. And we certainly don't need your permission. She turned and walked out of the chamber. The Council argued for days. Some demanded action. Others counseled caution. In the end, they did nothing. The human fleet was too powerful. No species wanted to become the next Valori. On Earth, celebrations erupted across every city. Fireworks lit the sky. People danced in the streets. Monuments to the Nexus Prime dead were covered in flowers. Families who had lost loved ones 30 years ago wept with bittersweet joy. Fleet Admiral Park Doyen did not celebrate. He sat alone in his office, looking at old photographs. Faces of friends who had died at Nexus Prime stared back at him. Young faces. Brave faces. Faces that had trusted him to lead them home. Admiral Kim Yuna found him there. "It's over," she said softly. "We won? Did we?" Do-hyun asked. 60,000 dead. 30 years of darkness. Millions of Valori now under our control. Was it worth it? Yuna sat beside her old friend. She had known him for 50 years. She had watched him carry the burden of that terrible day through decades of planning and preparation. He had never broken. But victory, it seemed, weighed as heavily as defeat. "My brother died believing in our alliance with the Valori," she said. "He trusted them. That trust killed him. Now, because of what we've done, no species will ever betray humanity again. They'll be too afraid. Isn't that worth something?" Do-hyun was silent for a long moment. "Perhaps," he finally said. "But I wonder what we've become. We set out for justice. Did we find it? Or did we just become another empire, taking what we want because we're strong enough to take it?" "There's a difference," Yuna said firmly. "We didn't start this. They did. Everything we've done was a response to their betrayal. If they had simply honored their alliance, none of this would have happened." Do-hyun nodded slowly. "You're right, of course. It's just, I never wanted to be a conqueror. I wanted to be a protector." "You are," Yuna said. "You protected humanity. You made sure no one would ever hurt us like that again. That's what matters." She stood and helped him to his feet. "Come, the memorial ceremony starts soon. Our dead deserve to see their victory." They walked together to the great plaza where a new monument had been built. It was a wall of black stone, stretching half a kilometer long. On it were carved 60,000 names, every human who died at Nexus Prime. Millions of people gathered to watch. Soldiers stood at attention. Families held photographs of loved ones. Children who had grown up hearing stories of the betrayal now witnessed its conclusion. Vice Admiral Hajin stood at the podium. Her voice was steady as she read from a prepared speech, but tears fell freely down her face. 30 years ago, we were betrayed. We lost 60,000 of our best. Parents lost children. Children lost parents. Our hearts were broken, and the galaxy told us to accept it. She looked out at the sea of faces before her. We did not accept it. We remembered. We prepared. We endured. And today, we stand victorious. The Valori who betrayed us have lost everything. Their empire is ours. Their future is in our hands. Her voice rose. To the fallen of Nexus Prime, your sacrifice was not in vain. Your deaths gave us purpose. Your memory gave us strength. And your spirits guided us to this moment. You are avenged. Rest now. Rest in peace." The crowd bowed their heads in silence. 60 seconds passed, 1 second for every 1,000 dead. Then the bells of Earth began to ring. From Seoul to New York, from Cairo to Sydney, bells tolled in every city. The sound echoed across the planet and reached up to the stars where human ships now patrolled former Valori space. Do-hyun stood among the crowd with Yuna at his side. He looked up at the sky and thought of all the ghosts that had traveled with humanity through 30 years of darkness. "We did it," he whispered. "We claimed everything they owned, just like we promised." Somewhere in the void, he imagined the spirits of the fallen smiling. The era of human dominance had begun. The galaxy would never forget the lesson of Nexus Prime, and humanity would never again be betrayed. Thought the ghosts of 60,000 finally rested. Their children now ruled the stars. The Valori homeworld was called Sylvanus. It was a beautiful planet of crystal towers and floating cities. Silver rivers wound through purple forests. 3 moons hung in the sky like pale jewels. For 1,000 years, it had been the heart of an empire that stretched across 200 star systems. Today, it would learn what fear meant. High Commander Talrock, now Supreme Leader. Talrock sat in his palace and reviewed trade reports. He was old now, his silver skin faded to dull gray. But he still ruled with an iron grip. His four hands held more power than any other being in the sector. He thought briefly of humans. He had not thought of them in years. They had retreated to their little planet and disappeared from galactic affairs. Some said they had collapsed into civil war. Others said disease had reduced their numbers. Talrock did not particularly care. They had always been a minor species. Their extinction would go unnoticed. His aide rushed into the chamber with wide, terrified eyes. Supreme Leader, our outer defense stations have gone dark. Talrock frowned. Which stations? All of them, sir. Every station in the outer ring stopped transmitting 6 minutes ago. We're blind. Before Talrock could respond, alarms began to scream throughout the palace. Red lights flashed. Soldiers ran through corridors. Voices shouted in confusion and fear. The sky above Sylvanus turned dark. 800 human warships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. They were enormous, each one the size of a small moon. Their hulls gleamed with strange metals. Their weapons glowed with terrible energy. They moved with a speed that should have been impossible. Talrock stared at the viewscreen in disbelief. This could not be real. Humans were finished. Humans were nothing. Where had these ships come from? The flagship Retribution took position at the center of the formation. On its bridge, Fleet Admiral Park Do-yoon stood with his hands behind his back. Vice Admiral Lee Ha-jin commanded the helm. Admiral Kim Yuna managed tactical operations. They had waited 30 years for this moment. Open a channel to the planet, Do-hyun ordered. All frequencies. The communications officer nodded. Channel open, sir. Broadcasting to every receiver on Sylvanus. Do-hyun stepped forward and spoke. Valori, 30 years ago, you betrayed humanity at the Battle of Nexus Prime. You abandoned your allies. You fled while 60,000 humans died. When we demanded justice, you lied. When we begged for acknowledgement, you laughed. His voice was calm and steady, but it carried the weight of decades of grief. You forgot about us. You thought we would simply fade away. You were wrong. We have returned, and we are here to collect what you owe. On Sylvanus, chaos erupted. Citizens ran screaming through the streets. Military commanders shouted orders that no one followed. Defense ships launched in desperate confusion. Their crews barely trained for actual combat. It didn't matter. The human fleet opened fire. Beams of white-hot energy sliced through Valori vessels like paper. Missiles with warheads that no alien scientist could understand tore through defensive platforms. Shields that were supposed to be invincible shattered in seconds. Their main battle fleet is mobilizing from the southern hemisphere, Yuna reported. 200 ships. Destroy them, Ha-jin said simply. The carrier groups released their fighters. 10,000 small craft poured into battle with pilots who had trained every day of their lives for this. They moved like shadows, faster than the Valori sensors could track. One by one, enemy ships exploded. On the ground, landing craft descended through the atmosphere. Human soldiers in powered armor emerged onto Valori soil. They moved with silent efficiency, securing spaceports and communication centers. Resistance was scattered and weak. The Valori had never truly prepared for a ground invasion. They had never imagined anyone would dare. Supreme Leader Talrock stood paralyzed in his palace. Through the crystal windows, he watched his empire burn. Ships fell from the sky like dying stars. Columns of smoke rose from the crystal towers. His generals reported defeat after defeat. How? He whispered. How is this possible? His aide had no answer. A human voice crackled through the palace communication system. It was Doan's voice. Talrock, we know you're listening. In exactly 1 hour, we will land troops at your palace. You can surrender peacefully, or you can die fighting. The choice is yours. But understand this, your empire is finished. Everything you own now belongs to humanity. The channel closed. Talrock's guards urged him to flee. Underground bunkers waited in the mountains. Secret ships could take him to distant colonies. He could rebuild. He could fight back, but Talrock was tired. He had lived a long life built on lies and cowardice. He had sacrificed 60,000 humans to save his own ships at Nexus Prime. He had told himself it was strategy. He had almost believed it. Now the truth stood before him in the form of 800 warships and the burning ruins of his world. No more running, he said quietly. Prepare the throne room. I will meet them. When the human soldiers arrived, they found Talrock sitting alone on his silver throne. His guards had fled. His advisors had vanished. Only the old ruler remained, his 4 hands folded in his lap. Vice Admiral Hajin led the team that entered the throne room. Her rifle was raised, her eyes sharp and cold. Behind her walked a young officer, Cadet Osujin, now Lieutenant Osujin, earning her first taste of victory. Supreme Leader Talrock, Hajin said, by order of the Human Federation, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity. Your empire is dissolved. Your territory is forfeit. Your people are now subjects of human authority. Talrock looked at her with ancient, tired eyes. I remember you, he said slowly. At Nexus Prime, you were on the Iron Dawn. I saw your face when your fleet died. My father was on the Thunder's voice, Hajin replied. He died covering the retreat. Because of you, I did what I thought was necessary. So did we. Hajin gestured to her soldiers. They moved forward and placed restraints on Talrock's 4 wrists. He did not resist. What will happen to my people? He asked. Hajin considered the question. They will live. They will work. They will pay for what was taken from us. But they will live. That is more mercy than you showed our dead. As they led Talrock from his palace, he looked up at the sky one last time. Human ships filled the heavens like an angry swarm. His crystal towers burned. His proud civilization crumbled. You should have killed us all at Nexus Prime, he said quietly. That was your only chance. Yes, Hajin agreed. It was. Across the planet, the same scene repeated. Valori forces surrendered by the thousands. Commanders who resisted were killed quickly. Those who submitted were spared. Humanity was efficient in victory, just as they had been efficient in preparation. In orbit, Admiral Yuna watched the conquest unfold on her tactical display. Her brother's face floated in her memory, young and smiling, before Nexus Prime stole him away. We did it, Taiho, she whispered. We made them pay. A single tear rolled down her weathered cheek. Then she wiped it away and returned to her duties. The battle for Sylvanus was over in 6 hours. The Valori homeworld, heart of a 1,000-year empire, had fallen to humanity. But this was only the beginning. Deep beneath the mountains of Earth, a new world was being born. Engineer Beek Selman walked through the vast, underground shipyard with tired eyes and a proud heart. She had not seen sunlight in 3 weeks. Sleep was a distant memory. But every time she looked at the massive warship taking shape before her, exhaustion became meaningless. The ship was called Retribution. It was the first of its kind, a new class of battleship that made everything else in the galaxy look like a child's toy. Its hull was made of a metal that Summon's team had invented. Alien weapons would bounce off it like rain off stone. Its engines used principles that no other species had discovered. It could cross the galaxy in days instead of weeks. Beautiful, isn't she? said a voice behind her. Somin turned to find General Choi Yunho standing there. 20 years had passed the Nexus Prime. His hair was gray now, and more scars lined his face. But his eyes still burned with the same cold fire. "She's perfect," Somin replied. "Weapon systems are online. Shields are at 200% of projected capacity. The Valori won't know what hit them." Yunho nodded slowly. "How many ships can we produce?" "At current rate, 50 per year. We already have 600 completed and hidden in asteroid bases throughout the system. 600 warships, each one more powerful than 10 Valori vessels. And no one in the galaxy knew they existed." Yunho smiled, a rare expression on his hard face. "Show me the fighters." They walked through endless corridors carved from solid rock. Workers moved everywhere, building and testing and improving. Every person here had lost someone at Nexus Prime. Every person here had volunteered for this secret project. They worked in silence. They told no one, not even their families. They were ghosts serving ghosts. The fighter bay was enormous. Thousands of sleek attack craft hung in rows, their angular shapes designed for speed and destruction. Pilots trained in simulators nearby, running battle scenarios over and over until their reflexes were perfect. "We captured a Valori scout ship 8 years ago," Somin explained. "The crew was killed in a mining accident. Very tragic." She allowed herself a small smile. "We took their ship apart piece by piece. Their technology was impressive. Ours is now better." She picked up a datapad and showed Yunho the numbers. Human shields were now 30% stronger than Valori shields. Human weapons were 40% more powerful. Human engines were twice as fast. "They stopped improving," Somin said. "They became comfortable. They thought no one could challenge them. They were wrong." Across the planet, similar facilities worked day and night. In the deserts of Africa, soldiers trained in combat techniques that combined human creativity with stolen alien knowledge. In the frozen north, scientists developed weapons that could crack a planet in half. In orbit around Jupiter, hidden stations assembled the pieces of an invasion fleet. Captain Lee Hajin, now Vice Admiral Hajin, commanded the training program for officers. She was 58 years old, but she could still outfly pilots half her age. Her reputation was legendary. Cadets whispered that she had ice in her veins and fire in her heart. Today, she addressed a class of new graduates. "You were born after Nexus Prime," she told them. "You never saw the bodies floating in space. You never watched the Valori turn away while your friends died. But you carry the memory in your blood. Your parents lost brothers and sisters. Your grandparents lost children. That pain lives in all of us." She paced before them, her boots clicking on the metal floor. "For 30 years, we have prepared. We have built ships that surpass anything the galaxy has seen. We have trained soldiers who fear nothing. We have developed weapons that will shatter our enemies. And soon, very soon, we will use them." A young officer raised her hand. Her name was Oh Sujin, and she had graduated first in every test. "Vice Admiral, what if the Valori surrender? Do we accept?" Hajin's eyes went cold. "Do you know what they took from us, Cadet? Oh? They took 60,000 lives. They took fathers and mothers, sons and daughters. They took my father, who never got to hold his grandchildren. And then they stood before the galaxy and lied. They showed no remorse. They offered no apology. They simply didn't care." She stepped closer to Sujin. "When we face them, they will beg for mercy. They will offer treaties and promises. They will say anything to survive. And we will remember how much their words meant at Nexus Prime. We will remember how the Council dismissed our dead like they were nothing." Hajin's voice dropped to a whisper. "We will not accept surrender. We will take everything they own. Every ship, every planet, every resource. They will become nothing, and humanity will become everything. That is our justice." The cadets sat in stunned silence. Then Sujin stood and saluted. "I understand, Vice Admiral. I'm ready." The others rose and saluted as well. Young faces hardened with determination. They understood now. This was not about revenge. This was about survival. This was about making sure no alien power would ever betray humanity again. Meanwhile, Commander Park Doan, now Fleet Admiral Doan, reviewed the final invasion plans in his private office. He was 73 years old. His hair was white and his body was tired. But his mind was still sharp and his will had never broken. Admiral Kim Yuna sat across from him. She was 71 and walked with a cane now. But her eyes were the same as the day her brother died, empty and hard and hungry for justice. "The fleet is ready," she said. 800 warships, 200,000 soldiers. Enough firepower to destroy the Velori homeworld 10 times over. Dawn nodded. "And their current strength?" 3,000 warships spread across their empire. But they're soft. They haven't fought a real war in 20 years. Their crews are lazy. Their technology has stagnated. They think they're invincible. They thought that about us too, Daoyun said quietly. Look how wrong they were. He stood and walked to the window. Outside, the night sky glittered with distant stars. Somewhere out there, the Velori lived their comfortable lives. They had long forgotten about the humans they betrayed. They slept peacefully in their silver cities, not for much longer. Give the order, Daoyun said. Operation Ghost's vengeance begins in 30 days. We move in complete silence. By the time they know we're coming, it will be too late. Yuna smiled a cold, terrible smile. 30 years we've waited, she said. 30 years of silence and shadows. Now they'll learn what happens when you betray humanity. She stood and saluted. For the 60,000. For the 60,000, Daoyun replied. In shipyards across the solar system. Engines began to warm. Soldiers said goodbye to their families. Pilots checked their weapons one final time. The ghosts of Nexus Prime were about to be avenged. Earth had never known such grief. The broken fleet limped home through empty space. 47 ships remained from 300. Their hulls were scarred and burned. Their crews were hollow-eyed and silent. They carried the weight of 60,000 dead. Captain Li Hajin stood at the viewport of the carrier Phoenix Rising. She was 28 years old, with black hair tied back and a face that had aged 10 years in one day. Her father, Vice Admiral Lee Junho, had commanded the battleship Thunder's Voice. The ship had been destroyed covering the retreat. They never found his body. She held his military badge in her hand. It was the only thing she had left of him. When the fleet reached Earth orbit, the whole planet seemed to stop. News spread across every city and every village. 60,000 dead, betrayed by their own allies. The Velori had run away and let humanity burn. The memorial services lasted for weeks. Cities built monuments. Families wept over empty coffins. Children grew up without parents. Parents buried their children's photographs instead of their bodies. Hajin attended her father's ceremony in Seoul. The rain fell hard that day, as if the sky itself was crying. She stood in her dress uniform with her mother and younger sister. Soldiers fired their rifles into the gray clouds. A flag was folded and placed in her mother's trembling hands. He died a hero, the officer said. Earth will never forget his sacrifice. Hajin wanted to scream. Her father was not supposed to be a hero. He was supposed to come home. He was supposed to meet his first grandchild, still growing in her sister's belly. He was supposed to grow old and tell stories by the fire. The Velori had stolen all of that. After the ceremony, Hajin walked to the memorial wall. 60,000 names were carved into black stone. She found her father's name and touched it with her fingers. The stone was cold and wet. "I'll make them pay," she whispered. "I swear to you, Father, I'll make them pay for what they did." The Galactic Council held a hearing 3 months later. Admiral Kim Yuna represented humanity. She stood before the assembled aliens and told them everything. She showed them the battle recordings. She showed them the moment the Valori turned away. She showed them the death toll. "We demand justice," Yuna said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes burned with cold fire. The Valori committed an act of betrayal. They abandoned their allies in battle. 60,000 humans died because of their cowardice. High Commander Taurok rose to speak. His silver face was calm and pleasant. The Valori fleet detected an approaching threat. He said smoothly, "Our sensors indicated a second Harak force. We repositioned to protect our ships from this danger. This was a military decision, not a betrayal." "There was no second force," Yuna shouted. "Your sensors lied. Or you lied about your sensors. Either way, you let my people die." The council members exchanged glances. They were beings of many shapes and colors. Some had wings. Some had tentacles. Some floated in tanks of liquid. All of them looked uncomfortable. The High Arbiter, an ancient creature made of living crystal, spoke with a voice like breaking glass. "We have reviewed the evidence," it said. "The Valori claim of a sensor reading cannot be disproved. While the outcome was tragic, we find no clear evidence of intentional betrayal. The matter is closed." Yuna stood in shocked silence. "Closed?" she finally said. 60,000 dead, and the matter is closed? "Humanity has our deepest sympathies," the High Arbiter said. "But the Council cannot act without proof. This decision is final." Yuna walked out of the chamber without another word. She did not trust herself to speak. Back on Earth, the news hit like a second betrayal. The aliens did not care. The Council had sided with the Valori. Humanity's dead meant nothing to them. Protests erupted in every major city. People burned Valori flags in the streets. Politicians demanded action. Military officers called for war, but Commander Park Do-hyun called for something else. He gathered the surviving senior officers in a secure bunker deep beneath the mountains of Korea. Yuna was there. Hajin was there. Dozens of others filled the room. "We cannot win a war against the Valori," Do-hyun said. "Not today. They have 3,000 warships. We have 47. If we attack now, we will die, and Earth will fall. Then what do you suggest?" asked General Choi Yunho. He was a big man with a scarred face and hands that had killed enemies in close combat. "We just let them get away with it?" "No," Do-hyun said. "We wait. We prepare. We let the galaxy forget about us. And when we are ready, we take everything from them." The room fell silent. "How long?" Yuna asked. "As long as it takes. 20 years. 30 years. However long we need to build a fleet that can crush them completely." Hajin stepped forward. "My father died at Nexus Prime. My daughter will grow up without knowing him. If waiting 30 years means we can destroy the Valori completely, then I will wait. I will train. And when the time comes, I will lead ships into battle myself." Others nodded. The anger in the room was a living thing. It filled every corner and every heart. But it was controlled now. Focused. Patient. "We tell no one outside this room," Do-hyun continued. "We pull back from galactic affairs. We let the aliens think we are broken and defeated. We let them forget that we exist. And in the darkness, we build." "What about the Council?" Yunho asked. "They'll be watching us." Yuna smiled coldly. "Let them watch. They'll see a grieving species licking its wounds. They'll see nothing dangerous. By the time they realize the truth, it will be too late." The officers voted. Every hand rose in favor. That night, Earth began its great silence. Diplomatic missions were recalled. Trade agreements expired. and were not renewed. Human ships stopped visiting alien stations. The species that had once reached eagerly toward the stars now turned inward. The galaxy noticed at first. Messages came asking if humanity was all right. Offers of aid were made, but Earth declined everything politely. After a few years, the messages stopped. After a decade, most aliens barely remembered that humans existed. Hajin rose through the ranks during those quiet years. She trained pilots and studied tactics. She married a fellow officer named Kang Minho and had 2 children. She told him stories about their grandfather, the hero who died among the stars. She also told them about the Valori. She told them about betrayal. She told them about the justice that was coming. "When will it happen?" her son asked once. He was 7 years old with bright, curious eyes. "Soon," Hajin promised. "Soon." In the darkness of Earth's hidden facilities, the machines of war began to wake, and the ghosts of Nexus Prime smiled. The stars burned cold and distant as Commander Park Do-yun stood on the bridge of the battleship Iron Dawn. His hands rested behind his back, fingers locked tight. Around him, officers moved with quiet purpose, their faces lit by the blue glow of holographic displays. Today was the day that would decide everything. 300 human warships floated in perfect formation. Beside them, 400 Valori vessels hung in the darkness. The Valori were tall beings with silver skin and 4 arms. They had been humanity's allies for 12 years. Together, they had pushed back the Harak Empire across dozens of star systems. Together, they had bled and died on countless battlefields. Today, they would end the war at Nexus Prime. Do-yun turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel to the Valori flagship." The screen flickered, and High Commander Talrock appeared. His silver face showed no emotion. His 4 hands were folded in front of him. "Commander Park," Talrock said, "the Harak fleet approaches. 800 vessels. We proceed as planned." "Understood," Do-yun replied. "Humanity stands ready. We fight together." Talrock's dark eyes blinked slowly. "Together," he repeated. The screen went dark. Admiral Kim Yuna walked up beside Do-yun. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray hair cut short. She had fought in every major battle of the war. Her younger brother, Captain Kim Tai-ho, commanded the cruiser Starfire somewhere in the formation. "I don't like his tone," Yuna said quietly. "Something feels wrong." Do-yun nodded but said nothing. He had learned to trust Yuna's instincts. She had saved his life twice. The waiting began. Minutes stretched into hours. Officers checked and rechecked their stations. Soldiers in the lower decks prepared their weapons. Pilots climbed into their fighters. The whole fleet held its breath. Then the sensors screamed. "Contact!" shouted the tactical officer. Harak fleet emerging from hyperspace. 812 vessels confirmed. "They're coming in hot." Do-yun's jaw tightened. "All ships, battle stations. Launch fires. Prepare main weapons." The void exploded into chaos. Harak ships poured through space like angry insects. Their hulls were black and covered in spikes. Their weapons glowed red with deadly energy. They outnumbered the Allied fleet, but this was expected. The plan would work. It had to work. Valori fleet moving to flanking position. An officer reported. Du-hyun watched the tactical display. The Valori ships curved away, circling around to hit the Harak from the side. Human ships would hold the center and take the first wave. When the enemy was engaged, the Valori would strike their exposed flank. Classic hammer and anvil. The first Harak weapons hit the human formation. The destroyer Morning Light vanished in a ball of fire. 2 more ships took heavy damage. Do-hyun felt the Iron Dawn shake as shields absorbed enemy fire. "Return fire!" All batteries. Human ships unleashed their fury. Missiles streaked across the void. Energy beams cut through HFY vessels. Explosions lit up the darkness. But for every enemy ship that died, 3 more took its place. "Where are the Valori?" Yuna demanded. "They should be attacking by now." Do-hyun looked at the display. The Valori fleet had stopped. 400 ships hung motionless at the edge of the battle. "Open a channel to Taurok." "Now!" The communications officer worked frantically. "No response, sir." "They're not answering." Cold fear crept into Do-hyun's chest. He watched as the Valori formation began to move again, but not toward the enemy. They were turning away. They were leaving. "No," Yuna whispered. No. Do-hyun grabbed the communications panel. "Taurok, what are you doing?" "We need support." "Taurok." Only silence answered. The HFY commanders saw what was happening. They pressed their attack with new ferocity. Without the flanking strike, the human formation was surrounded. Ships began to fall. The cruiser Starfire took a direct hit to its engines. Yuna screamed her brother's name. On the display, the ship spun wildly, flames pouring from its hull. A second hit struck the bridge. The Starfire broke apart and died. Tai-ho. Yuna fell to her knees. Her hand shook. Tears ran down her face. Do-hyun watched the battle turn into a slaughter. Human ships fought bravely, but they were hopelessly outmatched. Destroyers exploded. Cruisers burned. Fighters vanished like sparks in rain. "All ships fall back," Do-hyun ordered. His voice cracked. "Emergency retreat. Get to the jump point." The survivors ran. They had no choice. Behind them, the HFY hunted the wounded and the slow. The destroyer Braveheart stayed behind to cover the retreat. It lasted 4 minutes before it was torn apart. Do-hyun stood frozen as the numbers climbed. 10,000 dead. 20,000. 40,000. By the time the Iron Dawn reached safe space, 60,000 human soldiers had been killed. They found the Valori fleet waiting at the rally point. Their ships were undamaged. Their lights glowed peacefully. Taurok's face appeared on the screen again. "A regrettable outcome," Taurok said smoothly. "Our sensors detected a second HFY force approaching. Strategic repositioning was necessary. There was no second force." Do-hyun shouted. "You abandoned us. 60,000 of my people are dead because of you." Taurok's expression did not change. "War requires difficult choices. The Galactic Council will understand. Humanity has our deepest sympathy." The screen went dark. Yuna rose slowly to her feet. Her tears had dried. Her eyes were empty and hard like stones. She looked at Do-hyun with a face that had forgotten how to feel anything but hate. "They killed him," she said. "They killed all of them. And they don't even care." Do-hyun placed a hand on her shoulder. "I know. What do we do now?" He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, his dead soldiers floated in the cold void. Somewhere out there, the Valori celebrated their survival. "We go home," Do-hyun said quietly. "We bury our dead. And we never forget." The Iron Dawn turned toward Earth. Behind it, the ghosts of 60,000 humans cried out for justice. They would wait 30 years for their answer.